Against the backdrop of a raging COVID epidemic and a quite visceral Black Lives Matter movement, Abroad While Black was born. Our goal was to highlight Black perspectives from all over the world. It was our way of proving there are other ways to live, other places to be successful, in different cultures that embrace our Blackness. In 2020, the Abroad While Black team created dozens of responsive hot takes and thoughtful interviews covering topics ranging from current events, business opportunities, dating, and life-changing moments. In 2021, our co-hosts Cordy and Sean aim to share more success stories, more productive introspection, and most importantly, how to relocate to a place that truly values what you offer the world. Abroad While Black is more than a show. This is a social experiment hell-bent on discovering new ways to secure the bag and live our best lives. Join the Abroad While Black squad.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am Dashonna Jeffries. I'm the owner of Signature Class Travel and also a Passport to Breathe. As Sean mentioned, I love traveling. Started traveling when I was young, so why not make it into, what I do?
Okay. So tell us a little bit about that one, because that's the thing that's had me just so jealous of all of your social media platforms. I've seen you've been to a few places. How many places have you been to? What are some of the places you've traveled?
I think it's been about 30 or so places.
Hello, we're back together again. My name is Sean Burrows. I am the CEO of Burrows Enterprises and the co-founder of Ingressive for Good. My goal in life is to build an economic bridge between Africa and her diaspora. I focus on tech and investment because historically those are the two areas that are currently and historically been ostracized from as members of the Black diaspora. I jump into that to say I promised this year would be a little bit different. I would focus on building a community that would unlock our shared talents. So today we're going to start with a new flow. Instead of interviewing a guest today, I'll be focusing more on what I do from the day to day with my clients for Burrows Enterprises. I'll share some of the tools and tricks basically that I've been using to feed myself in the African continent for the last 5 years. So I hope it's useful for everyone. And before I get in too deep, let me just give a little bit of background. I want to focus on operations because it is actually what helped me make sense of the world, especially my faith and my relationship with God. How? Heresy, you say, right? Well, my fault with religion and those leading it is that in many ways faith required you to be blind. You get the what, but not necessarily the why or the how. So I'm a preacher's kid. So after like 15 years of being in the church 16 days a week, I was obsessed with the why and the how. It was like other people don't need to do all this. I mean, is everybody else going to hell? Because a lot of people ain't going to church like we going to church. And after a while I was like, well, how bad is hell? I mean, I'm just asking for a friend. It just started getting to be a little bit heavy. But again, this just basically led to my thirst for why and more importantly, the how. The methods I will show you work amazing for business. They can turn your life around and they can even renew your relationship with your maker because every single thing has a process. I'm going to put that on the shirt. Everything has a process. Tattoo that on the insides of your eyelids. With that being said, today is out of order, but I just wanted to get this one in first. But I feel like it's one of the few learning modules that I have put together that can stand alone. Usually what I push out, kind of one thing builds upon something else. But I want to try this content out and just kind of see where we land. So today we're going to focus on goal setting for generating revenue. If you're on the mailing list, you probably already have been emailed this month's content, so you can kind of follow along from there. If not, there's a slimmer version available. Well, actually, if you're not, get on the mailing list, subscribe on the website to get the next one as well, so you can follow along month to month. The link's in the description box below. If you're new, you can go to the link in the website below and follow along with, again, the free content that we have on there that is kind of slimmer, but definitely will get the job done. I'll try to follow that one as opposed to the more robust one. As usual, I do free weekly consultations, so this is not just me trying to, it's a lot of frees being thrown around here. But again, the Calendly link is below, and get in there quick because the slots do kind of fill up. Every time I do a video and I post it kind of a week later, everything's already filled up for the month. I don't take anything longer than a month. So like I said, again, get in there while you can. So today, again, the focus is setting goals for generating revenue. Again, why I felt comfortable starting here is because anybody can set goals. Most people understand that you do need to set goals. But most people, when they set goals, the majority of their goals or the way they set up their goals isn't directly tied to money or generating revenue. So again, I'm just going to jump into that part. Typically, what I would do, the process of getting to your goals is technically you set up your organizational goals. So the company wants to achieve this. You start breaking that down by department, basically, and saying like for anyone to be able to reach this other goal, these other people have to participate in such. So you have your departmental goals. And then again, at that point, once you have your organizational goals filtered down to your departmental goals, again, in between there is where you start kind of making the connections where these need to generate revenues. Once you have those, you distill them into KPIs. KPIs or key performance indicators. This is like basically telling your employees, your friends, your whoever it is, you're telling them what success looks like. Actually, next week, I'm going to focus on this whole process I just outlined, which is the organizational goals and actually setting up the KPIs. So again, we're going in reverse, but again, things have to build upon each other. So with that being said, this one's a standalone. So what we are going to do today is take the goals that you have, and turn them into money-making goals. So if you have them already, go ahead and dig out your goals, whether they're written down, they're on a laptop, a computer, or something like that. Go ahead and get those goals together. Once you have them, pause the video or whatever, come back so these things can make a little bit more sense. And again, with that being said, if you are following along on the document, I'm going to jump right ahead to the major title page, which is goal setting for revenue, slide 3. I'm going to transition into slide 4. Slide 4 should be up in one of these corners, so you can follow along yourself. So again, when it comes to setting your goals, again, I'm already focused. I'm already assuming that you're setting your goals. So what I'm going to teach you is the mindset or the process or how you do this, right? So again, when it comes to setting goals for revenue, it's all about the numbers. You want to set a goal that fits your business, and then use that goal to create the numbers. So what does that mean by select a goal that fits your business? So again, what you want to do is look at how much money you're currently generating, if it is any money, and then you want to set a reasonable goal. How do you find a reasonable goal? In the US and in more developed countries, what you're able to do is just kind of like Google online and look at what are the expected amounts that certain businesses of a certain size are generating. Again, it's really easy to find data. In the African continent, you kind of want to look at, you may want to use a different process, maybe looking at approaching it from a capacity standpoint, saying that I currently have the capacity with the time what it takes to serve a customer. So again, this is going to involve you breaking down the steps of your customer service process, and seeing like how much time each one of them takes. How much are you dedicating? What are the resources that it takes to deliver the outcome that your customer is expecting? And then once you know how much it is to deliver that, how much it takes or whatever versus what you have, then you say, oh, okay, so if I can serve, I'm just going to use a very basic example. Oh, okay, so I can serve 10 customers. And each customer is $100 per customer. So if I can possibly do 10 customers at $100 each. So my goal is now going to be $1,000. So that's just a general way. You can use your capacity, or again, you can use the industry standards based on where you are. So again, if you're picking a huge company, scale it back. But again, what you want to get is how much basically are you charging? How much are you charging your customer? And if you don't know how much to charge your customer, again, look at the industry standard to understand that, and then multiply that by how many customers you're able to serve. So I killed that, drove that into the ground. But again, I want to make sure these things are very simple and basic and understood, because everything kind of builds on another. And instead of me starting off at a point where there was previous information, I'm kind of trying to give you prior stuff. But don't worry, I got you next time. So there's a bunch of different ways you can do this. So some of the ways that just to go down the list, you have if you're setting your goals, right? You're saying like, how am I going to take? Because you even have the situation. Basically, when you're setting goals for generating revenues, you have a position where you're an existing company or you have zero, right? So if you're an existing company, you're looking at, I want to increase how much sales I'm making. I want to increase how much money is coming in my business, right? That's the mindset that you're having. How do I get more money, right? So what sometimes learning these things does, it helps you to put a box or context around some of the ideas that you have. And once you have context for the ideas that you have, when you're doing your own personal research, you're able to connect your ideas with context to other things and educate yourself. Again, all the information is out there. So you have way number one, market expansion. So you want to increase how many ways you're able to sell, different ways you can get into. One of the most common ways is increase the points of sale. So if you're one of the persons, let's say if you sell water on the side of the road, you as one person at one busy intersection can sell a lot of water. You start increasing or expanding your market when you say, I want to expand into 3 or 4 intersections. I need to bring another person under me, but how much I'm going to pay this person versus how much I'm going to make in a day covers the cost. So that's how you want to look at one way of market expansion. If you want to take it to the big box stage, you can look at how McDonald's operates. McDonald's, if you look at it, they've created a franchise model to expand their market. What does a franchise model mean? You give me money, you're able to use the brand that I've built up, the name, and you need to open it where I say, how I say, and basically use the methods that I tell you to use. Again, these are different ways of thinking when approaching, like, how do I want to generate revenue? How do I want to increase and do more with what I already have? Another way is market penetration. And market penetration involves increasing your market share. What does that look like? Increasing your market share. Let's say with some of the terms that you'll hear when you start looking at market penetration. Another term you're going to hear is total accessible market. Again, total accessible market is how many people. It's an average. It's an assumption, and depending on where you are, and it could be a very solid number to go off of. But again, your total accessible market is how many total people you can sell to. So again, if I'll give you a perfect example: Lagos, Nigeria. Everybody looks at Lagos, Nigeria as this huge market, 200 million people, the most populous black nation in the world. And so many different businesses and concepts come to the continent thinking they're going to do amazing things. Oh, so many people are going to buy my, what is it called? So many people are going to use my Cash App, or so many people are going to use my social media platform, or any number of different things you want to do. But if you're bringing a technical product, just to give you an example, if you're bringing a technical product into Nigeria, let's say when I say technical product, something that forces people to get online, consume data, download an application, something of that nature, right? If you're bringing anything that allows somebody, that would make somebody have to do any of those number of different things, one of the benchmarks people use is Facebook. Most people in Nigeria who are doing anything tech-based probably have a Facebook account. So, of the country that has 200 million people, you have 16 to 20 million Facebook accounts. So about 10%, right? So if you are coming into Nigeria, again, with a technical application that needs to sell a certain amount of things to become profitable, you can't count on the entire 200 million people. You can only count on about 20 million people for your technical application, right? So why is that important? When you look at market penetration is like how far you're going to go down into there. So like if you look at like Samsung versus Apple, right? Same idea. Same idea if I use the Facebook stats, if somebody's coming into Nigeria. Not Facebook, well, you have iPhone and Samsung, right? So iPhone and Samsung, they're looking at the market of how many people can actually buy their phones and purchase it. They know that they're starting with at least 20 million, right? There's only 20 million people who could potentially even have a reason to buy an iPhone or a smartphone in general, right? So now what you find is that they know they're both going for the same segment, the same target audience, the same group of people. And now what the fight is like who has more of those people, because there's only a finite amount. And that's what market penetration is. Market penetration involves not only finding or bringing in more people into your total accessible market, but also stealing customers away from more people. But in the end, you want to have more customers than other people. Not just like I want to have more customers, but since there's only 500, or let's say if there's only 100 customers, for you to have, let's say, cover your rent, cover your whatever, you need to have, out of those 100, you need to have 60. That means you need to have most of the market share. That's how you're looking at how do I penetrate deeper into that market. Another way of goal setting or examples of how you can kind of generate revenue just from a concept perspective is diversification. Diversification basically is make money in different ways. If you're looking at in the big business world, this is where people start talking about pivots, spin-offs, if you're a TV series, different things like that, where you have something that's working, it's good. You don't want to mess up what's already working, but you still want to make money. So why don't I launch an associated product? Again, I can use an Apple or an iPhone. So the iPhone is doing amazing. It's doing awesome. How about we sell AirPods? How about we sell the iWatch? How about we sell whatever the case may be? These are the different things that you want to look. So again, you want to set goals for generating revenue, but I'm showing you ways that you can look at your business and say these are different ways to generate revenue. Once you understand different ways to generate revenue, then you can set goals. So again, another way is premiumization. Premiumization, if you take the existing product that you have and you add more bells and whistles and different things on top of it, that gives it a premium. It could be something as simple as an example of premium service would be you could buy a product or service from me directly. Let's say I sell AC remotes, right? Something that's right here and relevant. But now instead of you just buying my AC remote, I'm actually going to give you a pack of extra batteries. I'm going to also hand deliver it to your house. You see what I'm saying? Like different things that you can do that validate people wanting or having to pay a higher cost. Also, another effect of premiumization is also making things more exclusive. Sometimes you have, you have these, I've been watching a lot of cell phone videos lately, Mr. Who's the Boss in particular. But again, you have, so I'm using cell phones, right? So you have situations where like you have a cell phone carrier where they may have their flagship phones, their normal line of phones, but then all of a sudden, let's say, Porsche. I think I've seen Porsche do one where they come and say, we're going to release a limited edition of this phone. I've seen gaming companies do it where this is a game inspired phone. I've seen Star Wars do it and different things like that. So again, it's you adding extra branding, extra exclusivity. People say like, oh, there's only 5 of these available, different things like that. There's so many different ways. For those in the US or in more developed economies, I think this is where you could definitely take a lesson from the African continent. Just based on how things are here, there's just far more competition for your day-to-day essential items. And what you find is people finding different ways to add on so many different layers of customer service to what they already provide. Just something that can be very, very basic becomes just so overly dramatic in the way that they give it to you. The perfect example is a good friend of mine called me about 2 days ago. Shout out to Fred Brown. He was like, hey, maybe I shouldn't tell his idea. So let me tell a different idea. He was saying there was a, what was it? Let me think of something. Premium car washing, detailed car washing, right? Let's say that there's these electronic car washes all over the place. This doesn't make sense. Okay, let's just move ahead with this example. So again, if you can tell what I'm doing, and even editor, don't cut that out. Let's just leave that in there. What you just witnessed is I don't snitch on nobody. If you tell me what your idea is, I talk to people all the time about their ideas. As excited as I get, I do understand that it's very important that you don't share the secret sauce, or you don't share the sharp cutting edge ideas people have. I'm here to support you. I'm not here to snitch on you. So moving forward, another way that you can increase or find ways to generate revenue is there's 2 ways, like forward integration and backward integration, right? So these terms are terms that go back as far as the very first industrial revolution. If you're talking about Henry Ford with the assembly line and all the interchangeable parts, this is like old school, like that old school, right? Dust off your history books if you don't get what I'm talking about. But again, forward integration is saying that I create a product and I want to take this product all the way to the last mile, understanding that, and this builds off of the premiumization idea, right? The premiumization idea is I want to add an extra service or something on top of this, or do something to make this thing more valuable. With the forward integration, let's say you make something that's not delivered to the end user, right? So let's say if you make a cell phone, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to put the cell phone in people's hands, so to speak. So that's what they're saying. Forward integration is basically taking it all the way down to the last mile, knowing that each step that you take in the process, especially in the supply chain, is another area for you to basically collect more money. And you can do it step by step by step by step. So let's say if you make cell phones, you may just have one factory in China where you just crunch out millions and millions and millions of phones. The person that comes to China to take those phones from there and deliver it to all these different places all over the world is going to collect money and collect his own margins for doing that. So like a forward integration will be like, okay, I make these phones in China, but I'm also going to open warehouses in USA, the UK, and all these other different places. So I have less road to travel to get to the customer. So that means my delivery costs with these warehouses and how quickly I can replenish, how fast I can get things to people, I can make changes. All these different things happen faster because now I've opened up these satellite warehouses in different places. That's an example of forward integration. The next step is like, okay, now that I have these warehouses in different places where I'm stockpiling so many different phones in these strategic locations, the next step of forward integration is like, okay, let me start opening stores in strategic areas where I would have touch bases with different levels of customers that would actually buy directly from me. So again, now once you do that, you kind of cut out the middleman altogether, right? So each step you go forward, you give yourself an ability to control the process. If you look at iPhone, the reason why iPhone does things the way they are is because they can make a phone that has less the devices or the hardware inside the phone. If you compare it side by side with an Android, you may look at the Android and be like, oh, this phone is way stronger than the phone that I have. But what iPhone has done is that since it's one phone, one general design, everything operating the same way, they're more efficient. They can do things their way and it doesn't fail. Things connect the way they're supposed to connect. There's a different way, because if you look at an Android, the Android has to make their operating system, their way things connect, all of those different things for each and every single device. They have to make it for the Samsung phones. They have to make it for when HTC was doing it. Now you have like Xiaomi, you have Huawei, not Huawei anymore, but you have all of these different companies basically where everything has to work on all of these different platforms. iPhone said, we're going to own the process. We're going to do forward integration. Backwards integration is basically just the reverse. Let's say you're buying a lot of finished products to make your end thing. So let's say if you're making beads, and necklaces and jewelry and different things like that. So, let's say if you're making gold jewelry, backwards integration would be like at one point you were buying gold from the streets, or you're buying people's jewelry fresh off their neck and melting it down and making your own different things, or buying and repurposing pieces. You go from that point. If you want to go backwards, then you start going to the distributors of gold, the people who sell gold at different prices, different things like that, the people who are collecting gold like you were, and then you can go step back all the way till you go back to the mine where the gold is coming from. Like, that's backward integration. And again, the idea is the same. Once you start controlling the supply chain, you can make things more consistent, you can cut costs, you can move out middlemen, and again, just understand that every single company or every single person that you deal with is going to have their own markup that goes into what they're doing. Another way you can do it is your churn rate. So churn rate is how quickly you burn your customers, right? So if you already have people buying from you, a smart strategy for generating revenue is to be like, how do I keep these customers? How do I get these customers to buy from me repeatedly? Again, if you look at another good term or good something to look up is cost of goods sold, or cost of customer acquisition. So like if you look at I'm using phone companies because that's my old background. But if you look at how much they pay for a Super Bowl commercial versus how many phones they sell, right? You can look at that and say like, okay, if I break down, if that Super Bowl commercial costs me $1 million, I know that's cheap. So if that Super Bowl commercial cost me $1 million and then I sold 100,000 phones because of that, then for each customer that bought that phone because of that Super Bowl commercial, it costs you $10 per sale, right? So why would you want to spend an extra $10 every time to get a new customer when you can just get the customer that you have to buy more? So again, that also ties into diversification. How do you basically sell more things, different things to more people? Again, that's that general conversation that you have. Another thing that you want, another way to increase your revenue, or another way to focus is on your leads. again, I know that one of the hardest things to do, and this is regarding customer CRM, customer relationship management software, right? So basically you have software that helps you manage how you reach out to people, how many times or what happens when they speak back to you, and all these different things that are available out there, which this is awesome and amazing, right? But at some point you run out of who else should I reach out to? Who else is there in this market? And again, you want to, it's very important, or if you haven't gotten to that point, that's something you want to look into before it's too late. The last thing you want to do is start making major investments or major business choices. Again, let's say that you come into Lagos, Nigeria with the plan to sell, you're like, I can at least sell my product, or my application is going to be amazing for at least half the population of Nigeria. Again, you're thinking that you're going to reach out to 100 million people, and you're making investments for 100 million people, but you really only have 20 million customers, right? So again, it's like you have to realize how many leads that you have coming in. This is Nigeria. The light's gone off. You know what? We're going to keep it going. So again, your leads increase your opportunities to sell. And you need to understand that you don't want to get into a certain part of your business where you don't have enough leads to continue selling. So again, you always want to ensure that you have enough runway. You have enough people you can sell to. You want to ensure that you're always replenishing the leads that you have, or you know that in the back of your mind, I can get more people here in this certain way. Welcome back, Lights. Again, that's your leads. Another way that you can focus on for generating revenue is your win rate, the percent of deals that you close. So if you're focusing on leads, sometimes you'll find that you're burning through your leads if you're just focused on the leads. You also need to focus on the conversions, aka the win rate. So you need to say that, like, all right, you need to be looking at the process that you have. This is where like A/B testing comes in at, right? You want to try things one way, and then you want to try things another way, right? So if you have a list of people, let's say I have a list of 50 people. You want to split this list in half and say, I'm going to send this email worded this way on these 25 people, and I'm going to send, let's say, a PDF through a mutual friend through to these 25 people, right? And you want to look at them and see which one gives me the best win rate. Which one are people more responsive to? Again, that's where you want to pay attention to those things. You have to look at your business like it's a science experiment, right? So what you have is you have a hypothesis and you have your variables. Once you have your hypothesis and you're testing your hypothesis, everything should be the same with the exception of the variables, right? So again, with that, you want to be able to look at it and say, like, once I do A, B, and C, I get a higher win rate. Like, that's what you want to push people to do. Even if you're doing things like if you're setting up commission and different things like that. If you have a higher close percentage, you could possibly get a higher commission amount of sales. Like, these are different ways where you can use the amount of people that you're converting as a way to generate revenue, right? And the last thing I would mention is the unit cost. So again, you can increase your margin by increasing the price, or you could increase the volume you sell by potentially decreasing the price. You just need to make sure you have a solid strategy behind one or the other. I've seen people do both. I've seen people raise their prices for no reason, with no connection between the price and the value, causing people to kind of just not buy. You have a situation where you may be in a market that's price sensitive, where you're trying to be exclusive, and by lowering your price or offering a sale, you kind of diminish your brand. So again, you need to understand these things and how leveraging the unit cost you have can actually impact the cost. So again, unit cost would speak to things like we mentioned before with premiumization. and different things like that. Your win rate, your churn rate, all of these different things are connected to the fact that you need to ensure that you have value, or you're communicating value to that customer, and the source of that value is going to come from how much they cost. What did they have to sacrifice to get what they got from you, and how did they feel about it once they got it? So yes. So I'll stop there. So what we did today, I'll make this a few-part video, but what we have touched on today as part of a multi-part series is basically different ways you can generate revenue. So again, look at these different ones, kind of look at your business to kind of see which one makes more sense for you. With the following and subsequent videos that I do, I'll use, hopefully I'll get some volunteers from some of you all out there. And yeah, we'll be able to have a more robust conversation using local examples, or more startup solopreneur based examples. I think that's where my key focus is, understanding that whether you are a multinational, the same principles form a foundation, and it just builds upon itself. So awesome. I hope you enjoyed that today. Again, I'm going to keep producing more. I just want to get a feeling for how you guys feel about this. So again, if you enjoyed this content, please do the stanky leg on that subscribe button, and to keep getting alerts for more of these tutorials. Also go to burrows.com, burrowsenterprises.com, to get more blah, 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 blah. So pause, cut out that last part, and now I'm going to do this one. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you enjoyed this content, please do the stanky leg on that subscribe button so you can get alerts for when we drop more videos, tutorials, and other content and interviews. Also, go to burrowsenterprises.com. The link is below in the... Erase that one as well. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, if you enjoyed this content, please do the stanky leg on that subscribe button so you can get more alerts, more tutorials, when we're dropping more videos. So when we're doing, yeah, again. Okay, last time, bro. Take that off. I don't know why this is so difficult for me to do. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, if you enjoyed this content, please do the stanky leg on that subscribe button below to get alerts for more of these tutorials, more from our interviews, and just interesting content all across the board. For more focused resources on operations, and to schedule your own free consultation, please go to burrowsenterprises.com, and there's a link there. Please subscribe to our newsletter as well if you want to keep up with our monthly content. Each month we send out a newsletter that kind of gives you a little bit of background about the things that we'll be up to as a community together, and it also gives you the content for the focus area of the month. Again, this month we're focusing on goal setting for generating revenue. Awesome. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.